letting go of old models of thinking to flow with consciousness in life is something that comes gradually when you are expanding your own inner world by integrating your lovely brain. And so, a default mode network that is down regulated is an integrated brain. Raise your hand if you're attachment trauma informed. I am. And raise your hand if you get the I found it hard to believe, Maria, the first 3 years of life mean anything. Well, your implicit memory means everything. So here's the deal: a stillness of mind human being is the person who will find very supportive and very beneficial self help with your woo woo spiritual as well as spiritual consulting and content creation. And I have noticed there's a lot of people that feel that pseudoscience and woo woo spiritual people are bullshit and crap, self help too. I have now understood why. So, for one, they don't go to good therapy so that they can have an easier time with difficult emotions. They also have a Zen master who's not in the enlightenment soul age group, and more than just one, who shares with them that they have laundry. But then we have our lovely true spirituality people, like our spirituality guru, Sadhguru, who say, no, no, you can be this way like I am, and you can be the way Jesus was and the way Buddha was. And he doesn't know the words, but I'm going to share because I do. You can be a restorative embodiment self of yourself too. I am it as well. And the enlightenment vibration is accessible because my heart's open. Jesus taught it to me. I didn't follow Buddha. In fact, I still don't follow Buddha, but I know about Buddha and Buddhism. And I know about Christianity and Catholicism. And I know about some of what is Judaism. And I know a lovely rabbi who talks about a feminine. I'm a feminine. I'm a masculine too, but my feminine is my dominant. Because see, I do have twin flame and flames and soulmates. I'm the divine feminine of my oversoul. And so here's why: letting go of old models of thinking to flow with consciousness in life. Every time I've expanded, I've known. And I can thank all of the lovely people in my life. Yep. Every single one of them. And what I love even more is when I hang out with the enlightenment peeps, which is why the 5D collective, come on over to IHP and let's have fun, because we don't have chips on our shoulders. In fact, here's the deal: we are kind of tired of hearing Venus is a goddess is a May, gods of Mars, and who knows, however many more human beings who are living in old models of thinking. They don't want to flow because they don't want a left and a right to come together and say, no, emotions are hard, Maria. And you say, well, there's good therapists for childhood developmental trauma, for personality disorders. In fact, we don't lack the imagination. We don't even lack the education. Some people seem to be educated, but I think they forgot a marble or two somewhere. No, actually, here's the deal about Cusco's. So when you're a person and you understand how the embodied brain works, and I do now because I'm attachment trauma informed. So they made me aware of why I don't like adolescents when I was an adolescent. I still don't like them. The adolescent brain, though, has an excuse, meaning that physically your adolescent brain, when you're growing up, it's from 12 to 24. Let me explain. And I don't make up shit out of my ass because this is actually information that people will have researched. So when I'm speaking, it's funny sometimes because, Cusco's are like, I found it hard to believe. And it's like, well, do you think that I, a 4'9" woman who's a woo-woo mystic, because, I have clairs, and people talk down to me. I just don't care, because when you talk down to me, I know that you have low self-esteem. You also don't know integrity. And at the same time, I'm curious because you're a piece of me. I'm a piece of you. Don't you know we're brothers and sisters? God taught me all about being humble. God's going to make sure I stay humble, and so is Akash and consciousness. But really, who it's going to be is me. You know why? You know why a person can know how to stay humble? Anyone? One, I'm not grandiose, because grandiosity actually is a very specific energy. You'll notice it's a 7 of 14 charming. They are Peter Pans, and they pull the wool over the eyes of the same adolescents who are no longer adolescents. And for the adolescents who are there, there's going to be the 5D collective say, okay, adolescents, let's talk. You want data? You go to college. You want active data? Read books that are made by people who go to college. They're called PhD masters. They're scholars. If you have private people like I'm a private person, meaning I'm an online entrepreneur. I'm an online content creator. I'm a human online. I'm social. I'm not the data person. I get the data from the data, and then I know how to sift through the data. I know how to sift. I can sift through myself. So what I was trying to say is I know how to stay humble, as I know when I'm getting in my little 3-year-old or my 16-year-old, because they're not charged. I'm Maria, all of me. I'm a whole self. This is why self-help, it works for the ones who do. Oh, I'm sorry. Were emotions something you didn't think were part of a human being? life. So see, the intellectual people that taught me data, they've made me capable of using words in an effective way. They've helped my divine feminine to say, hey, divine masculine, here's how you can explain a concept to like a 2-year-old. No, a 5-year-old. The 2-year-old won't get it. The 5-year-old, they'll hear you. They'll hear you really, really good. You know why? You know why a child is going to always be a child, and that's somebody who is actually going to hear the words of another inner child, because see, I'm an inner child. Every one of us can be. The difference is I'm not an inner child that got tortured, so I have no ill will. And so when I met unkindness as an adolescent, I had already been taught from my mother and God and Jesus what to do when I meet unkindness. And in fact, is why I said, hey, God, I don't see evil. I see human suffering. And what I see is the grandiosity of human beings out there using your name in a very specific way with people who hurt people physically. I don't want them to be hurt when they go to jail, but I don't like that they're defending, and I don't think that they have a valid excuse in the year. It was already in 2000, and I'm 2024, they're still protecting them. How do you protect a person who hurts people? Like a lot of other things, but here's where, right? So let's not get into that type of discourse, because I do self-help, personal development, and the nice thing about being a divine feminine is that when you're connected to this lovely sphere of life, you know that life always moves towards more life. The only ones who are under the impression, the illusion, that someone is broken or someone is sick or somebody has actually disconnected from life in and of itself, the only human beings who are blinded. And in fact, they also are deaf. And this is where people say, you think too good. I'm not thinking good. I'm not thinking bad. I'm thinking life doesn't auto-destruct itself. Also, I have attachment trauma information, and I'm grounded in basic humanness. So I'm not a flat earther, even though I'm a mystic. So the reality is I know how to sift through data. And I know how to notice social media. It's like when, as an online marketer, I will tell my clients, in order for us to create a good way that your clients can look at your website, you want to make sure they can zigzag it so that they can sift through it, because that's how your eyes work. So there's a very specific way. Basic psychology gives any person a tool or two. The difference, though, is that if you're a Cusco, you think you know everything. And that's the blind spots of all the masculines, which is why when I learned about the feminine and how this rabbi says that the feminine will restrict and that the masculine wants to go spread the semen with those usual and very interesting gender stereotypes, by the way, as they tried not to do. The rabbi did a good job, but I could tell that they were using complete stereotypes. And I was like, yeah, no, feminine is okay, go. Don't text me back. It's a good thing. That's the silence that will help me to not have to address what is going on, because I'm not your therapist, so I don't want to address it. I'm sorry that whatever happened to you as you were growing up really took a toll, and that you didn't find it in 2024 to go to therapy, but you found somebody who tell you lack of imagination, and then to tell you about contempt, disgust, and shame towards the person that, by the way, you just finished, fucking. And I'm just thinking, doesn't anybody hear what's being spoken, which is person needs therapy. They finish fucking a human being and they have shame and they don't text them back. Therapy, not evil. No, therapy, even though we can put that evil, but no, therapist. It's a very equal, this is the thing. I think of Criminal Minds, one of my favorite shows. As they shared, we don't like to give names because that's going to feed the ego. Yes, so I noticed a lot of people turned their back to God. I had been taught already why. And that's where every adolescent that I meet who's a grown-up, they like to use the same story that I heard as teenagers, told me the same story of why evil wins. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. Love wins, always, not just sometimes. And then I said, evil doesn't exist. And then I looked and I found. Why? Because I support people with self-help. And that's because you're beautiful. If you want to be, you don't have to be. You don't have to get to your 1-year-old. There are people, in fact, that say, I'm an avoidant attachment. Since my model of thinking is that, and since humans are fucked up and I don't want to journal or do meditation or mindfulness, so I don't want to do the work to integrate my brain and then to get inner and outer well-being, I'm going to just say that we're all fucked up. A lame excuse. Others will say, everybody's evil, Maria. Why would you be good? Why would you, with the word good, we don't have to use it, We could just say emotional, mental intelligence, because really that's what the Enlightenment Soul Age group is all about. It's really fun to be a restorative embodiment self. And again, letting go of old models and thinking to flow with consciousness is amazing, because your 3-year-old never dies. As you can see, I'm a whole 3-year-old right here, which is why I'm a dum-dum to some people. Yes, I'm a dum-dum because I don't do math very well, and I can't tell distances. If you tell me 1 kilometer, you're going to find me, I don't understand. I'm not going to lie, because you just spoke words. My brain doesn't register. I'm telling you because I respect you, not because I feel inadequate. No, I don't fear it. I don't feel it. I actively would love if one human being, if there were one, and I know there is one human being, I just haven't taken his classes yet. But I'm just saying, one person can figure out how my brain works. I already know they're going to help me to figure out spaces. I have no shadow of a doubt about it. You know why? Because I know how my brain works. And I know that if I find the person who has a key to it, they're going to say, okay, I know how to unlock it. And actually, I found some people. They're the masculines that stick around because they're smart and because they're actual masculines. They have feminines inside. It means they have their body. Their inner child. Okay, so when people don't want to do emotions, what I'm trying to present to you, their old way of thinking involves between belief systems and religious and all that stuff that actually doesn't support anything of what I learned about God or Jesus. I want to respect anyone, but again, I already told God they're doing hurt. They're hurting people. They're hurting people. Doesn't matter what words they want to keep giving me. They're hurting emotionally people. This goes against what I was told I was promising, which is to forgive and to love. And then you told me we're brothers and sisters. You're doing inconsistencies. There's inconsistencies. No matter how you twist the story, a child will know when it's being twisted when they stay open-hearted. Now, that's where if you close it and you have a trust break, that's the moment of truth. Who has trust breaks? It's all people who need good therapists. They're the ones who got their trust broken in humanity because of a lot of things. So when people don't know how to do emotions, there's a lot that they can do with good therapy, and then they can continue with self-help if they want an actual spiritual awakening journey versus the ones who tell you you lose people. You don't lose people. That's not nice. They're all Cuscos. You lose people. You're talking like the teenagers I saw who would just do, oh, this is our group today, that's another group tomorrow. We're all a herd. We're all a group. And on that note, we'll close on out so I can do another episode before the sun goes down with this one. When we bury feelings, we bury them alive. We wind up living with a heart and mind that are filled with landmines easily triggered when we go through the world. Ron Siegel, Psych D. So when people find it difficult to do emotions, the first step is good therapy. Once you have somatics, EMDR, child parts, and then you have the visibility of your child parts, and then you begin to say, okay, I can work with my window of tolerance and expand it to window welcome. Then you'll probably be ready for self-help and doing mindset stuff. Until that moment, you're going to do, I find it hard to believe, Maria, that my mannerisms have anything to do with those people. You want to keep blaming someone. Yeah, I'm not going to blame. That's actually part of the shame cycle. There's no one to blame. Nobody's broken. Don't you understand what I just said? We all have either trauma, and so that's where unkindness comes from, or not. Again, I support people to be empowered. I'm not doing any type of talk about any of that other stuff. I have one focus. It's I can help you to be yourself if you want. That's confirmation. If you want, you don't have to. The ones who say, no, I don't want to be me. I want to change me. We can talk about that, because that's where you need to get all the way back home to your first year of life, and then you'll be the real you, and then you're like, oh, okay, now I know. That's why the people who actually get healed, they feel changed, because they go from unkind to kind and compassionate, and then they'll know, like I do, why people still say, you pretend to be happy. I bet you're depressed, there's shit going on, you're afraid. Yeah, yes, I like to physically live life. Don't give me a hard time about being afraid. Or you know what? You can. I get it all the time. My life's so perfect. How dare you have panic attacks? Well, I actually do know why. I'm a super scaredy cat. And when I get told it, I said yes. And this was one of these incidences that always with those adolescents. It was someone, I don't remember who it was. They tried dunking me in water. I got really, really scared. They kept on teasing me, which meant every time I was going into the water, I was uncomfortably uncomfortable. They made fun of me. They continued to make fun of me until I stopped going in the water. And then they said, stop making a big deal. I said, no, you're not listening to me. And you don't care that I'm actively scared and I'm not going in the water. And I didn't ever again, because that's what a person who is rigid thinking. But see, here's where as a grown up, I'll still do it. The minute you disregard the fact that I'm telling you I'm emotionally afraid is the minute that I don't give a shit about however you may think I'm going to be. I'm not taking it by offense. I have my 1-year-old and I'm okay with it. This is the part. I'm okay with being vulnerable. I'm okay with being sensitive. I'm okay with being emotional. I'm not okay with you teasing me about it and then thinking that I should be okay with you. This is where self-respect, self-love, and having a child part, by the way, which all these other, I don't find it hard to believe. Well, guess what? I mean, hey, you can be the same people that chased Dr. Daniel Siegel down the hallway. In the meantime, I learned from him why I use the word we. Because I was wondering why I would use the word we. At first I said it's because I'm a channeler, because I channel as a mystic. And then I was like, well, I'm also a twin, so maybe that's why I'm always saying we. And when I learned about ourself, so we have a solo self, a narrative self, a relational self, and our core self, and I'm smiling because my child parts, they're all with me right now, with you. I'm one whole self, but my 1-year-old is here, my 2-year-old, and my 3-year-old, and my most favorite memory when I did my hypnotherapy session is my 3-year-old. I'll never forget that moment. I started to touch air, my lovely viewers. I've shared this before. It is most amazing. See my smile? I lost the capacity of words. I couldn't speak. I was like, I'm speaking now. In my brain, I couldn't speak. I was actively. And then I was like, I'm my 3-year-old self. This is so cool. It's like touching Flubber, from the Ghostbusters, the scary big balloon of marshmallow, but it wasn't a bad balloon of marshmallow. Okay, so, and then I went from 3 to 5 and then to 8 when I got disowned by my twin sister. And then my hypnotherapist, she said, okay, let's go to your resources. Let's go to God and Jesus and figure out why your 8-year-old came up. Hey, God, what's up? Why did my 8-year-old come up? And that's not how it went, but I'm just making a little bit of humor. So to conclude the story so you can hear it, I'm talking to God and Jesus. And resources is the word that the therapist or coaches like myself, if we have one-to-one sessions, if we need that, okay, who's your resources? I know it sounds very technical, but it's very beautiful because that's how you can integrate. And so you integrate with, there's people that you are inspired by. There's people that are not existing but are part of faith. And then there are heroes, I think. I forget, but there's 4 or 5 different types that you would organize as resources so that you have them on call for yourself and they support you. And mine is definitely Jesus and God, although I don't use God as often because I don't want to. I want to try and respect the people who think I'm, evil because I'm a Reiki master. So there's theologians that have decided to tell Christian folk that Reiki is bad energy. I'm thinking that's so disrespectful towards other spirituality communities. And they wonder why nobody wants to talk to them. And people of true faith, by the way, they know that I'm still part of the Holy Spirit because true faith means we know we're brothers and sisters. That's the whole point. It's a very disappointing, although I know that this is not fair because there's no reason for me, one small, tiny human being out here who has the capacity to say that. Because the reality is a state of consciousness is affected by what they came from. It's not their fault. There's a mother, I heard of this story, a mother who would lock her children up starving to death. And then she would let these children out the next day. And they would be starving. And she would make up that they ate. She disrupted their capacity to actually know what is true. This is very sad. So we don't lack imagination for evil. Evil doesn't exist. What exists are people who get tortured by their own household members. And who knows what happened to that poor woman? And people who want to keep on going with, I find it hard to believe. You keep finding it hard to believe that people need help. It's called transgenerational trauma, cultural trauma, and families that who knows. Actually, I do know. So let's go back to my story as I talk to God and Jesus. And I got the answer that everybody plays the game of life differently. Because I'm a happy 3-year-old, but I know about the human suffering stuff. I can see all these people. We're broken. Nobody's broken. There are people who have had a lot of shit go down. And that's the reason, besides my education, that I know you can do it. There's a narcissist lady. She gets hate mail. And her sociopath boyfriend, which I don't even like speaking it this way because the connotation of those words still holds stigmatization, still holds demonization. They're people and they're on a journey, and you find the masses on YouTube following people who consistently put you against people versus share with you information. And as she noticed on her own YouTube channel, the content that got more attention, the broken stuff. Now, I have two ways that I can interpret that for you. One, people want to be comforted. Two, people use a crutch, which is where the people who stand around with all of their Braveheart might, yes, like the therapists who write content of 10 ways to get underneath the skin of a narcissist. I watched this woman as she spit out 10 ways to emotionally be mean to another human being who needs a good therapist. This is not empowering. She had the capacity to use the word empowering. So when you understand what people are thinking, but then that they are not healed, so this human being, whether therapist or coach, I don't remember. I'm pretty sure she's a therapist, though, because of her criteria or how she at least presented herself. And she's not the only one that does that type of content. And in fact, here's where a human being who instead is doing really great content, he got a little bit of feedback for a couple of videos because the people from his community said, we are better because you treat us like people. Don't dehumanize and create stigma for the narcissist people. They need you too. So it's when we talk to people and help them to understand, yes, there are those who don't heal. They don't need to be demonized. They're people. They choose not to go to therapy. They choose not to take their maladaptive child behavior into consideration and their patterns. Adolescents, they didn't seem much more different than what I see out there on YouTube land personally. So this is why for me, whenever I see anybody who doesn't know how to be nice to another human being, I'm just thinking, who knows what happened to you in your life? Why are you playing the game of life like it's torture? It's the most amazing thing you've ever been gifted. Oh, and when you're in the enlightenment soul age group, you go beyond belief system. It's not because I will have a specific, I move beyond the concept of the one, love, and God, although God still see when I speak of God, what comes up as my child parts, because they stay with you as any good therapist will teach you. And that's why I can identify that I still feel the same way. I have the same relationship with my catechism and all my upbringing. It's good, but I'm a grown-up who understands that I'm not welcome by all people. There's a dude who talks to you about yoga bringing demons out of you. It doesn't. Yoga is a ventral vagal portfolio of nervous system toning exercises. There's another dude who's interviewing, he did a really good job though. He's interviewing a guru and he's trying to present some conversations, but at the same time, he's not taking seriously the guru. So when instead you can take seriously sciences, spirituality, which is where your host is at, because I love to learn. Next stop is quantum physics. I'm still trying to read your book, Sabine. That's existential physics. That I might be able to figure it out, but it's math. My brain is completely fried. I begin to see numbers. That's it. I don't understand. So anyways, that's a side note. But I started to read the first chapter where she's telling us about how time, and I'm like confused. I'm like, now they're going to prove that AI, or they want to prove that reality is not real with AI. Seriously. What's next? So on that note, we get to move out of those old models of thinking because we're not adolescent brains. At least I'm not. And even as an adolescent brain, I still had fun learning and expanding. So come on over if you are a person who loves the type of spiritual woo-woo content and self-help content that says you can do it too. Everyone can get out of hell from their body if they want to, because that's what trauma charges are. It's hell. And restorative embodiment self is instead heaven. And again, let's keep it grounded. Let's not go and disrupt people's belief systems. They're not going to want to hang out with us. I mean, hey, I'm polyamory. They actively, people think polyamory means you're unfaithful. I'm a mystic, which means I have magical powers that are evil. Apparently, there's this word that gets thrown around left and right by those human beings. Oh, I'm woo-woo, pseudoscience. Don't forget the snake oil, people. Please. How many more different words do we want to use? So I don't really have a fondness for these words, but I'll use them interchangeably, and I'm using them to make fun of them because they mean zero. You know what's going to show me integrity? They you walk a walk. Let me watch you walk and treat your neighbor. That's the number one thing that I'm going to notice. And the minute you look up or down, if you look down, I'm going to bring you up. If you look up, I'm going to say, okay, now I know you have even more low self-esteem than the person who looked down, and you both are equally need. Go, good therapy. Where are you, Terry Real? Dr. Daniel Siegel, Dr. Daniel Fox, Patrick Tiahan. Anyone want to take the people who have grandiosity? Because I'm sure they could use you. And what really we want to get are those lost boys who follow the grandiose, because the grandiose are Peter Pans. You're going to spot them a mile away. You know how? The ears. Oh, I don't need to see them. In fact, remember the song, Where's Billy Joel? That one song that I read to you, because it came through the other day. And there's a part where he says, the blind are the only ones who can see. And he's talking about a river and how we all end up in the ocean. And guess what emotions are, by the way? They're all an ocean. But when you get into your prefrontal cortex, that's when you find the land that you've been looking for. That's because you got heart and mind. So that's inner harmony and somatics. That's why good therapists, they integrate EMDR, child parts work, and somatics, because your body is important. If they're really great and you're actively wanting to be yourself, you're going to ask all the questions and they're going to say, hey, so look, trauma memory, it's hell. And there's a lot of uncomfortable shit. But when you're walking out, it's still going to burn, which means you could fall back down, but we're going to help you get back up. And you keep coming to us, and then you get surrounded by healthy self-worth people. That's why you want to be around people, not the ancient silverbacks. No, not any gender stereotype man or woman, not any of those people who cast stones against anyone. You want smart people. Smart people are emotionally and mentally intelligent. That means they have an open heart, and you will notice if they don't. And, you know, the majority of people that I've met in my lifetime, they navigate with what is a Cusco land with Pacha land. Okay, so Cusco, I'm going to say, is decent. And when Cusco becomes an angry squirrel, well, that's still doable. When Cusco becomes an Yzma, well, Yzma's going to end up who knows where. Because at that point, what we got is a person who's not flowing. They're not in consciousness. They're not even, who knows? It's a sad story that day. But my point is that people are healing. They're going to want to have healthy self-worth partnerships. Come on over. We are healthy self-worth people. When you're doing self-help, personal development, it works because you do emotions, not shove them back down, not they're difficult, not I got laundry, it's I have life. I'm going to do emotions with my prefrontal cortex. They can last 90 seconds. It's not hard. But I come from a child-centric environment. So for me, my body, my mind, my feminine, my masculine, they're my friends. All of me is my friend. In fact, this is one of the reasons why when I was analyzing fear with my lovely Dr. Albert Wong in one of my courses, you remember that story too, he asks me, because my body wasn't listening to me from one of my dreams where I was paralyzed, and I gave him the simplest dream. For my mystics, I was like, what dream shall I give him? My dreams last for hours. I can't take up the whole class time with my mystic dreams. And so I gave him the more human dream possible, and it was where I was paralyzed because of, it was awful. 3 times. By the 3rd time, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I can't speak. I'm starting to suffocate. I'm going to, it was not as bad as the dream where I woke up where I was going to get killed. That I, though, knew was the most, I said, this is going to be the best day ever. I wanted to kiss the floor. I didn't kiss the floor, but I knew that it would be the best day ever because I woke up from that dream. I'm alive. I'm alive. So this other dream, anyways, is where I found out the fragments. This is why some people might not end up in restorative embodiment self, because it's torture. It's really pokey poke. It's really awful, painful. It's torture. So, anyways, he's asking me about how I feel that my body's not listening to me. And I said, I'm confused. I don't know why it's not listening to me. I don't know. And then he says, are you angry? And the minute he says anger, I'm like, no. Anger is emotion about correction. I'm not correcting my body. You know why I said no immediately? Because my body protects me and my brain protects me. This is when you have a good relationship with your 1-year-old, your 2-year-old, or 3-year-old, your body, you, the human being, you. And so I said no in my head. And then my mother came into my mind. I told her about it because she always will push me because she knows fear is my dominant emotion. So she's consistently pushed, always. Even now at 44, she'll say, do this. I don't want to do it. And the point is, I'm okay with that. But my point also is that I knew, since I had already had a buttload of courses on attachment trauma, and I knew about this torn apart, and I'm starting to feel Pokey Poke. And I had just recently had a pure experience with fear before getting to this course. So it was all being processed because, see, the trauma charges, they begin to come up and they begin to unfold. This is your spirituality awakening and Kundalini awakening for my lovely mystics. It's a gradual process. It ain't all. And if you meet Peter Levine in his courses, I've taken one, and then I have his material. Nope, I have him in other courses, though, but they're different from. So you can reach out. I'll share with you where I've had courses with him. As he explains, once you move one piece of trauma memory, the rest come up. And so as long as you're doing the drinking, the fucking, and the drugging or whatever unhealthy self-soothing mechanism and staying in your shame cycle, you will not heal from your stuff because you're saying, ah. Instead, you want to welcome it, witness, process, and then allow yourself to stop the unhealthy, maladaptive, and adaptive child behavior patterns and to be with healthy, self-worth people. Say, okay, you got your tone today. What are we going to do about it? Or, hey, no drinking today because, or basically we talk about it. Obviously, nobody's setting any rules. But again, it's for those who want to flow. They want to be supported, okay? Long story short, I'm aware now that I didn't get to, in my 1 year of life, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way to 16. But those first 8 are the unconscious. So I had already learned of what trauma memory and trauma charges, and I'm beginning to feel this stuff come up because I'm about to start crying and I don't want to cry, not because I'm ashamed, but because this is for other students. I'm trying to maintain the class environment so that those who watch the demo can learn how to walk somebody through what we were doing, which is through a dream. So I just wanted to maintain some form of composure, but also it's an intimate moment and I'm wanting to cry by myself, not in front of the screen. Plus, I don't really need to do any of it. I know what it is. And see, when you explain it this way to people, they think that you are being analytical because people that don't know how to work with their integrated brain, they're only using the chit chatter left. I'm talking to you from my open heart and my left, okay? So I'm in an integrated brain, and so I'm emotionally gooey as I'm sharing it with you. The ears that hear with non-bilateral integration, they're not listening to me. They're a Cusco who's talking shit over my shit, and in fact, they're going to interpret it as something, and they're going to want to use their words. Oh, you suffer then. No, suffering is from a temporal junction. I'm using my prefrontal cortex. I'm explaining and describing to you I have interoception. It's the sixth sense. I can feel all the shit that goes down in my body because I have no numbness. I have an active insula. I can explain it to like you're a 5-year-old because I learned all about it and I know who I am and my body. So in the meantime, I'm like, oh shit, this is what that stuff is. And I'm thinking this is only like a little sliver. Wow, and I'm like, okay, this is good because it's coming out, but I really want to cry. And my lovely Dr. Albert, you're great, Dr. Albert, but all the therapists that I learned from, they all can tell whenever I've seen other demos. The sun's going out, so I'm gonna have to go. But he knew it was time to. Okay, let's talk about. He said, let's share with ourselves. It's okay to be afraid. So we said that 2-3 times, and then we're like, okay, we're done, and we got off, and that's that. And since the sun is going out, I don't want to lose you, and the lighting is important, but this is what is helpful for me to share with you. When you're aware of yourself and you're aware that emotions aren't nasty and your body's not nasty, you welcome it all. You witness, you process, you let it go. That's it. This is soft. It's not hard. It's not hard to think. It's not hard to feel when you can deal with uncertainty, unexpected, unwanted, with emotions and thoughts like this. That's why self-help supports people. When you say, I don't want to do it, everyone's broken. Well, there you go. Ciao. See you later, alligator. You're going to go and do whatever you're going to do that you see in movies. And so, letting go of old models. Some of us, we don't even need to let go of them because we're an expanding piece of consciousness. But I am lucky. Like I said, I have an inner child that's whole. I'm a divine feminine with my own divine masculine. Then I got to meet some amazing divine masculines and my own oversoul and all these amazing things that we'll keep talking about. Meantime, if you are curious about one-to-one mentorship or the masterclass to be put on a list, reach out, email, and we will have Ask Maria columnist opinionated episodes when we get to our 1K on YouTube. In the meantime, they are available on our audio podcast version, which you find on Spotify and another 10, another certain number of podcast platforms. And I love to get tongue twisted. So, okay, thank you for tuning in. Like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day.